Okay, I'm totally hot and sweaty. I just finished tennis, and I'm super glad I did my magic mind this morning because it's not so hot. I guess it's like 90 or something like that, 85, 90. But it's humid. This is very different than where I grew up in Canada, when it's a wet heat versus a dry heat. So super glad I got all my energy this morning in a sustainable way. And also, it was really cute. You're about to watch, such a dear sister, colleague, client, Myola, in this next upcoming podcast where we talk a lot about sex. And so they were practicing tennis, and I just like to kill it. I don't know, it's just my thing. I know that's not the way I should. He just keeps saying, Allana, you got to go slow, slow. And the instructor, he also teaches music. And so he gets his students to play the song slow, slow. And it was my first time to meet everybody. It's like a new group today. So I wanted to say, just like sex, it's better when you go slow. But I thought, it's the first day. Let's not shock them. And then my little voice inside my head was like, fuck that. Like, just be who you are. And then, no, yes. Like, anyways, I didn't say it. But I will next week. When if it's the perfect time. As you go into this podcast, you're going to have, I hope, a great time talking about the beauty of our bodies, our orgasmic nature, slowing things down, which I need to, tennis and sex, all of it, I need to go slow. And I also have grace with myself for so many years, all of that level 4 trauma hypervigilance. I just had to be 3 steps ahead so I wouldn't get hurt. So I have compassion that even in my 50s, I'm still learning, still a student, slowing on down. So enjoy this podcast with the amazing Myola Woods. Mwah. Welcome to Intimate Conversations. Become the one. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello, delicious people. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations. Here we are, season 12, Become the One. And this month in April, our theme is Sitting in the Fire. It's time to feel the feels. I'm here with one of my beloved sisters, colleagues, clients, friends, goddess, dragon, awesome ladies who have the pleasure of introducing to you. Let me tell you a little bit more about her before we dive into her journey with me in this community. So her name is Myola Woods, and she is an author, certified sexological body worker, somatic sex educator, and international intimacy and sex coach. And she's also award-winning as well, and a pioneer with courage who bravely speaks about the things that make most of us uncomfortable. And she will gently lead you out of your comfort zone and into the zone of personal growth, pleasure, and higher self-awareness. And Myola specializes in teaching individuals and couples the art of connection, creating and cultivating the choice of arousal to deepen intimacy, sensation, and pleasure, even if it's been a really long time. And as a sexual being, mother of 4 near adults, a hot grandmother, she didn't put hot in her bio, but I put hot in it, and pleasure enthusiast, Myola appreciates the time constraints, daily and social pressures that can play havoc on our erotic lives. And she teaches ways to explore and enhance your lovemaking in everyday life, using techniques and practices that can turn you on, turn your life on, just turn everything on. So take your intimate life from ordinary to extraordinary and have the orgasms you have read and dreamed about, because most certainly you deserve them. And so if you've had enough of mediocre and you're ready for change and desiring intimacy, connection, and arousal, I want you to stop wishing, and I want you to start connecting with Myola now. And her email is in the show notes, as well as a wonderful ebook that you can download and learn more about her as well. So I'm so excited to be with you.
Thank you for having me. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. First and foremost, it's been a while. I've missed you. How are you? How are you?
I'm really, really well. I'm landing after the retreat and working out how that integrates into life. So it's, interesting to, your intro. Thank you very much. You're moving that, that high energy, high experience into life and into the mundane. I think that's right where I am currently.
Stunning. Well, you look gorgeous, and it's been so good I mean, we've known each other for about a decade, to finally hold you in my arms and be held in yours was really a treat, as well as all the upside down zip lining and all the things that we did on the retreat. But why don't we start at the beginning? How did you first learn about me, and how did we come into each other's lives?
I first learned about you. You did a program with someone else, and so I was following them, and you did a program with them, and so I got to see you in your magnificence, and thought this is amazing. And so we've been on a few podcasts together, like as guests, and so I've been following you probably on the outskirts, I suppose. Well, in and out and in and out and in and out.
Very sexual.
So following you because I love what you bring, and I love what you teach, and I love that your authenticity. And then last year, I finally decided I was going to, not be on the outskirts, but in the fire. And here I am. So that's, it's been delicious.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I think it's okay that we share where you learned. Is it true that you learned about me from when I did Your Delicious Body with Dr. Dane here? Is that how you first learned about me? Yeah. It was amazing back in the days of DVDs.
Yes,
that
that's how I know how dated it is. Yes, it was on a DVD. Yes.
It's another era.
Yes.
Yeah. I've never asked you this, my beautiful sister. What was it about who I'm being? I mean, you're extraordinary. You're absolutely so extraordinary in the work that you do. I have coaches, and I find that high level people, established people, it really takes something to be, quote unquote, sit in the fire, be vulnerable, be brave. What was it about me that allowed you to trust me, surrender to me?
It was I think it's the realness, the willing to talk about anything, and talk about it in a group setting, and talk about it live to public, as well as not only talk about it, but doing the work. So so seeing you change, seeing the growth, seeing you, and so you have both. There's probably, multifaceted, but there's the actually doing the work and sitting in the fire, and there's the sharing and talking about what is actually going on. So there's you, and then the change that, like the phoenix, or like however that comes out of that. And I could see that along the way, that you were changing and growing and moving, and I really appreciated it.
Oh, thank you. It's always, well, as you know, being in the public eye, what are they going to think? Are they going to lambaste us because we're vulnerable and transparent? And some do. And yet the ones who value that and make it more relatable and safe to be authentic, because we're authentic too, those are the incredible people that I have the blessing of attracting and working together with. When you first reached out to me, were you aware that I did group coaching as well and retreats, or did you think it was just going to be one-on-one in the beginning, or did you reach out on purpose for a community as well as the private work?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't think I knew. I just wanted in. I just wanted in. I just whatever it is, whatever it takes. I just want in. I was quite, felt quite stuck. I felt like I couldn't see any more what needed to change and what needed to happen. So I knew I needed help.
Thank you.
I needed some external help, and then all of those things came as a bonus. I think working with the group, working at the retreat, those things came as a bonus.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tell us more about what was stuck that has shifted, dissolved, moved, integrated, awakened in our dance together.
So the parts of me that were stuck were, more about the belief in myself, and more things had changed for me personally. I had become a grandmother, and so they live with me. And as amazing as that is, I think that I, in amongst that, lost myself a bit,
Yeah.
and lost where I was going, and lost my direction because I was very focused on them, not, and so be it, that's what they needed. That's okay.
Mhm.
So I think some of that stuckness was, well, who am I now in the world? Who am I now as a, I know people, have it as a mother, but who am I now as a grandma, and who am I now as someone who, has the safety and keeps all of these people in a container? Like, how can I still be me? How can I still grow? How can I still change and bring that with me?
Yeah.
So I think that was in amongst, that was a lot of what had happened. And I had kind of not lost, but things had changed, and I didn't know how to grow into the next step.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. So you and the group has given me an opportunity and allowed, I mean, I live in Australia, for those that, don't recognize the accent, but and most of the group live in America, on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
So to feel the support and be able to lean in to that is amazing, is an extraordinary, power to you as well for holding that space.
Thank you.
But the sense of community, the sense of family, the sense of people that have my back, has allowed me to move into the next stage of where I'm headed, the next stage of, and to unfold, and to kind of also to stew in the parts that I may not know yet. Like, it's happy, like, people, the community holds me, we hold each other
Mhm.
in that stewness before you get the outcome. Like, it's an amazing group, and it's an amazing way that you have put us together.
Oh, thank you. Sit in the stew, sit in the fire together. Yeah. I guess there's Maria, who lives in Australia, Rosie, who occasionally comes on. But yeah, you're the very much consistent one who's shown up. I love the depth, Myola, that we're able to go in our sessions because of how connected you are, the multidimensional integrations, just how quickly you're able to sit in the fire and feel. I don't have to encourage that. You surrender so bravely, so quickly. It's been extraordinary. Tell us about the difference on the coaching calls, because from when you first came to how you've just been like beaming after the retreat, there feels like, and I'm just projecting here, so I want to know if I'm off track or not, a sense of community in a way that might be different than your past communities, or maybe it's just unexpected. Or tell us a little more about how the group aspect has complemented or even catapulted the private work that we've done together.
Yeah, I think it has catapulted, and different. The community is different in a way that we're all there doing the work. We're all there supporting each other. We're all there, and for the celebrations and the, sitting in the fire, the hard parts.
The meltdowns, yeah.
And both are celebrated as well. Like, both are held as, some communities are really good at being in the catharsis and being in the process all the time, and some people are really good at only focusing on the wins. I feel like there's a balance in there. There's both, and both are, and show up as you are. Show up, whether that's a mess, whether that's great. It's the level of people. There is a quality or characteristics in the people, and I guess it's their soul. It's not necessarily, it's their soul is open and their soul is alive, which allows everyone to grow and everyone to be exactly who they're supposed to be. And um that I get love. It's a love on a, unconditional is not exactly the right word, but it's a love that is transformative. So loving, if I was to say, I would say loving, love as a verb.
Yeah.
Love is a verb. It's loving. It's not just love.
Yeah.
It's there's a characteristic of an action that I'll hold you, I'll celebrate you. There's a lovingness to the community.
Mm, thank you. I don't know in your business, you do group work as well?
I do group work, but most of it's face to face. So
Ah,
I'm inspired to change some of that.
oh, okay. Well, when I first started my group work, Myola, before when we first met, knew of each other, I didn't do it. But I've been, I guess, doing group work maybe 8 years or so now. But I was so terrified to let go of control. I was so terrified not to be the one they said thank you to. Like at the end of the call, I would be like, "So, what's the value you got out of the call?" And I was like, "Oh, Allana did this. No, Myola did this, and Garrett did this." And so it was really good for ego death for me to get out of the way of
Mhm.
being the one in charge, the one with the answers, and to instead open wider to be the facilitator of an energy and to get up under others. And for me, I see people go farther faster when they do the group work rather than just private. And I see when we all celebrate and sit in the fire together at a retreat, that's a total quantum leap as well. And so I'm glad that I'm standing in, at least for me, what works for me. This is a recipe of what works really well to in 365 days, change your life, change your life. Add some PSIs in there as well. That makes it, in my opinion, even better.
Yes.
But let's move to the retreat for a moment. You've been with these people for several months. You fly across the world from Australia to Costa Rica um, for your 50th birthday. Uh,
Yes.
Tell them about the celebration. What was it like for you at the retreat? You must have been to many people's retreats. What was different, unique? What worked for you?
I have been to a few retreats, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was feeling these people, I'm talking about, yeah, feeling them in person. And so the same energy multiplied from what comes on the screen or what comes here, um, in person was that body contact that changes, that somatic work, that body work that only kind of bodies can talk to one another on a level that is way beyond, our brains or
Mm.
the retreat. I mean, I've said this to you, so I was saying, so for me, there was the balance of we would do very deep inner work and then we did something outside external. So,
Right.
we did some deep work and then we went ziplining with the monkeys. So for me, that was both the internal depth and then you talk about trees being out, the tree can only grow as far as the roots go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah, the tree. So
Uh-huh.
I felt like it was very well orchestrated for the roots and the depth and then the external so that you could have the matching and it wasn't so, I've been to retreats where you kind of hide away and then coming back into the world is actually a bit of a
Shock.
shock or a bit
Yeah.
of a bit harsh.
Yeah.
I mean, I did go on holiday after that, so maybe that was also key. But I didn't find the transition of coming out of retreat and
Mm.
going back to, I guess, the real world or whatever, we were back to normal life,
Mm.
so harsh. It was much more about, we had done a lot of integrating both of those so that the transition, home was actually quite smooth.
Mm, beautiful. And then we always do the weekly calls so we can sort of help each other check in as well. Yeah. Did you know we were going to do something for your birthday?
I didn't know we were going to do something for my birthday. I mean, I was probably hoping there would be, something.
Yeah.
I didn't. But being with everyone was enough. It was enough. There's
Mm,
so much gorgeousness in the music and the
mm,
playfulness, and yes,
mm.
there's so much
Yeah.
in all of it. Like even in the moments where there's not the facilitation, there's still growth and beauty in those moments.
Yeah. So many little moments when you just get a chance to share breakfast with someone or go on a catamaran ride with someone or walk along the beach home after dinner. each of these moments, it's almost like the divine is just moving the chess pieces on the board of who you're meant to talk to and what's going to come up next. I just loved, we, for the viewers and listeners, we blindfolded her and fed her chocolate and had these beautiful flowers against her body. And of course, here we are just doing our best, but she's the master. She's the master of the somatics, but we're like, I hope this works. I hope she enjoys it. You taught us how to more deeply receive. Although we were gifting you, you gifted us with what it is to receive pleasure. And you told me that this was not how it always was for you.
No, no. So yes, we came up to the back of the house, and we were staying in the blindfold, and I thought, oh, something's happening. And so and people guided me in and sat me in this lovely chair and fed me all sorts of chocolate. And I can remember being at a retreat a long time ago now, probably 15 years ago, and there was this extra piece of like not a workshop that was done by the facilitators, it was done by some of the team, and it was a morning ritual, come be fed breakfast blindfolded. And I actually, when someone fed me a piece of food, I started to cry, I started to sob, and I actually ran out of the room screaming, literally. And then I then had to process that, and then I had to work on it, because it was obviously something massive in there. So not so much about not so much about the touch, but particularly being fed and being, nurtured, and nutrients, and somebody, and having the trust that I couldn't see, and that I didn't know what was coming towards me, that I didn't know what was happening. So over the years, I have worked on all of those things, and and so for me, where does trust come from? And where does safety come from?
Yes.
So for me, a lot of that I've had to work on, that it comes from me, and that my body's safe, and that I'm safe, and that I know what is happening. And so to get to the retreat and then be fed delicious chocolates and those flowers, I didn't see them until afterwards. They were the most magnificent flowers. Was just an enormous amount of how much has changed for me, how much has changed in my life, that I can trust these people, and they can feed me all sorts of things and say delicious things. And I was not only safe, but I had words, so I could speak, and then guide everyone into some breathing, so that we could all enjoy it together a little bit more. It was absolutely amazing in the moment, and then in reflection, an amazing growth for myself.
I had no idea about that, but how wonderful to have been able to provide those, not bookends, but those two, different experiences to show how far you've come, and to take us deeper, and to include us with the breath. It wasn't just like a one directional transactional gift giving and feeding and touching. It was involving us with breath. And I think even there was music and teaching us. I was watching the people around you, and some were really into it, and others were like, are we allowed? And does she like this? And this makes me uncomfortable. So it was wonderful for you to unknowingly awaken the places where people were triggered about, could I receive that? Could I allow that? So you really supported us all in evolving. I want to continue on this path of your expertise. How did you get started as a sexological body worker? Was this from a little girl? You're like, this is what I want to be when I grow up, or like, how did it all actually unfold?
Well, I don't know that as a little girl, that's what I thought I wanted to do, but I have always had, so I have, sexual abuse trauma, and I have a history of, sexual violence. And so I always wondered, I came from the beginning from an energetic point of view. I was always a bit, well, how does this work in the world? Like, how does the energy of that kind of get trapped in the body? How does that keep us being an energy, sensitive person, like how does this work and how does that work? And so I came in from a very, I guess, energetic point of view of how it affects us. And over the years, I probably, as I grew and as my, trust in the body moved, I moved into a space of being able to know what was happening more physically and actually touching bodies. I can remember running workshops, and we were talking about time, but or decades, I had to get a picture laminated, and it was a picture from a friend of mine's husband's magazine, and it was it had lots of hair. It's dated because it has lots of hair. There's hair everywhere. And then I had to get that laminated. So I had made friends with the local printer, because there's not in the days where you had a laminator on the table when you laminated things. So I had made friends with the printer, and I had to sneak these pictures in because they were, R-rated. So I had to sneak them in to get done and pictures. So I've kind of from a very young been interested in how we change and how we look at, I guess, the pornography, and how we look at religious and spiritual, and where do they all move in together, and how does society affect what's happening. And then so I was, worked energetically and worked on bodies. And the more and more I learned, and the more and more people came to see me, I particularly, I suppose, focused on women's bodies because that's what I'm in. And I realized that many people needed lots of work around their pelvis, around their vulva, around their yoni, men as well. But particularly women, we don't talk about what's happening. We don't see often. We don't see what's going on. Lots of women I work with don't really get the mirror out and have a look. They don't know all of the anatomy and what's happening. And particularly, we often see pictures of men, only see pictures of men aroused. And we often never see pictures of women aroused unless it's porn. So we don't know what we look like.
Right.
And so my purpose, or one of my missions, is for people to really understand what is happening and how their birthright is to have all of that, all of our sexuality, all of our expression, because it comes out in everything. It doesn't just come out in the bedroom.
Right.
I know I'm preaching to the converted, but it doesn't only come out in the bedroom. It comes out everywhere. So it is our birthright to have it all the time. It's how we were created, and it's how we got here. And the parts that have been taken away, or the parts that have been shifted, how do we heal them? How do we integrate them so that we can be full beings on the planet? Because I think our planet would be different if were all in that.
Yes. Personally, to the degree you're willing to share, how is it to be now in your body, all the different kinds of orgasms, making love to life, single or with partner, or all the different things? What's it like to be Myola in your beautiful body?
I've worked really hard to be very grateful for my body, and very grateful that it changes and it moves and it jiggles, and how, society may not necessarily think that is amazing, and how do I sit with that? And I have become very, very comfortable in my body. I'm very comfortable to, sometimes I'm often more comfortable in no clothes than clothes. I find that sometimes that is freeing of the spirit and freeing of the soul, rather than what the masks we wear and how we what we adorn. I've become very comfortable, and the mini orgasms of, I would have had a past that I struggled to have orgasms with partners, and I was very happy, very content having orgasms with God, with the universe. Sometimes humans don't quite match up there. I've had to work on that. Most people go the other way. Most people have, physical bodies, and they're here, and they lead, they use sexual experiences to meet God. I think I've come the other way around. I knew God very well. I knew the other worlds very well, and then I needed to bring them here into our planet, into my body. So I've worked really hard at,
Yeah.
being able to receive, being able to have lots of different touches, being able to, so lots of practice. I don't know, lots of practice.
I love this. How, just a logistical question. So I remember, Scott and I cold plunge, and I know that you do like the cold plunging with the neighborhood. So you're in the cold water, you've got your family and your grandmother, there's people everywhere. Is it just like there's a sign on the door, don't disturb, Grandma Myola's with the universe, or like, how is it just totally open in your home to have orgasmic sounds coming from the bedrooms, all the bedrooms, or what, how do you find time, space, safety, a sanctuary for you?
Yeah, I think we kind of do have it's a door shut, the door shut,
Yeah.
and it's not. Yeah, I think we probably try not to have it in people's faces, but it's probably not hidden away totally either.
Mm.
So yeah, there's an understanding and there's an appreciation that we're humans in a physical body. We like pleasure. I've just, my daughter's moving into beauty, and so she's just about to finish her diploma of beauty, and they've gone into massage. And she said to me while I was away, she messaged me and said, "I've got really good feedback on my massage." And I said, "Well, did you tell them you've been massaging?" She's 17 now, she's 18 soon. "Have you been telling them that you've been massaging since you were 2? Like have you?" And my son's girlfriend said, they were she had a sore back and he was massaging her. And so I realized that that is part of who we are. So touching someone, massages, that we are very open to that. We are very open to texture, touching. And yeah, my 17-year-old daughter feels like she's got, 30-year-old hands. So it's nice. Good.
I'm sure she does. How beautiful. I so at the retreat we chose, I don't do this every time, but this time we choose a name, a word to embody, and to see if we can invite its invocation even more through us by the time we're done. So tell them your word and why you chose it.
Um, I chose Pachamama, and I chose that because I was having a little bit of resistance to the next, I suppose, my next step, moving more openly into working with the earth more, working with, plant medicines more, working with, so Pachamama for me was something it felt very big. It felt like, I suppose, who am I to even say that word, never alone actually want to embody it or actually want to share that with other people.
Yeah.
And so even I can feel, even as I'm speaking, I can feel there's still the joy and the changes that have happened during the retreat, the embodiment of that coming more in. Yeah, during the retreat, I noticed that the more that I did the internal and the activities, that the body was shifting and that was becoming part of an archetype, I suppose. The archetype was moving in.
Yeah.
And then I went on holiday to Colombia.
Yeah.
And as I walked around Colombia, I felt like the magic of Colombia was integrating with me. Like there was this whole magic coming from the earth and
Yes. That
filling me up.
Mm.
I came home very nurtured and very full and very wanting to share magic with people.
Thank you. There was a wide, deep, rich earthiness, but there's also like an innocence and a playfulness and a delight and like rosy cheeks. There was so much magic, aliveness as you were
Yeah,
coming to us from
yeah,
Colombia, for the next
yeah,
few calls. Uh,
yeah. I've spoken to a few people from Colombia since I've come back, and they've said, "Oh wow, you really got my country," is what they said.
oh,
They've got So I felt blessed that the land and the country had shared that with me, and I'd had that experience, but also to share that to give that back to the people, to some of the people, because I think if you grew up there and you now live here in Australia, those lands are very, very different. And I think so it was really nice to communicate to them what I had felt and that magic, and magic in Colombia seems very open, they're very religious and very spiritual, and they seem to hold both of those very well.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and yeah, magic coming off the land seems very normal. It's good.
I don't think there's a greater gift you can give someone, that letting them feel seen and appreciated for who they are. And so what a gift you gave them about Colombia. I told you this. I want to tell the viewers, they're on the last day of the retreat, I'm often very tired and I need to replenish. And yet I was talking to my doctor, my female doctor, and I was saying, I started actually to cry when I spoke of you, like happy tears, but poignant tears and a sense of longing tears, that I really wanted to ask you to do one of your sexual somatic sessions with me at the end, as a healing and as a replenishing. And as I was telling her this, I started to weep, because I knew there was something that I didn't even know what I didn't know, Myola, but I knew you were the facilitator for that. And as I spoke to her about this, she lives on 20 acres in Maine, and there's turkey vultures all over her property, and 3 of them came right onto the deck, right up to the window, and knock, knock, knock with their noses. She's like, okay, that's never happened, but whoever this Myola creature is, you need to work with her, because all of this, the birds are definitely concurring. And I want to deeply, in deep gratitude, acknowledge your mastery in this realm. You made me feel safe in a way I've never felt safe. You saw me in a way that no one has ever seen me. And when you chose that word, Panchamama, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm sensing in you. And when we did our first session and you beheld my vagina, I'd never had a woman do that. And a woman of divinity like you, and Panchamama energy and honor. And I can't even explain, Myola, how healing that was for me. There was no performative. I could just be honored, sister to sister, woman to woman, earth to earth, body to body. It was so shockingly healing for me. It was a piece that had been missing for 54 years of my life. So that was part 1. In part 2, when you brought in my partner, Scott, and you saw my blind spots instantly of how I do go performative. I do instantly disassociate. The moment his energy comes towards me, it triggers my wounding of my sexual trauma, and I leave, perform to be safe so as not to get hurt. This kind of dynamic. And I didn't see it at all. And you saw it instantly. And you were able to help me through gentleness and guidance to stay in my body, and to also support him and to not come towards me, which made me leave, but to be in his body, his lingam, and be present there. And how little movement is really required in those present moments for the universe to pour through us. Just his little finger, just a little bit, and he wasn't even moving it, and all this energy inside of his body. It was life-changing. So thank you for the extraordinary gift that you are, and share more about that, what you noticed, and the work that you do, so people have a chance to be gifted by your genius.
Thank you. It's such an honor to work with you and to work with Scott. It was so extraordinary to see the people who are doing the work, and people who are willing to do whatever it takes to get somewhere, even if you don't know where there is, or you don't know how to get there, but the willingness to just be with whatever is was extraordinary. So thank you. I thank you very much for allowing, I feel honored to have been allowed to facilitate that for you both. Coming back to the point of, holding, we don't often hold other people's genitals just for the sake of holding them. Often we're either, when people touch genitals for medical or they touch genitals for sexual. And that's it, really.
Yep.
We don't, there's not really a space in between. It's okay to go and have your shoulder massaged, or it's okay to, we know to get craniosacral work and hold that. But our genitals, we don't have it. And
Yep.
most of the time we don't have, rituals of coming of age, or when people move, to move them into that space either. There is something so from the sisterhood, from the earth, of holding someone else's genitals and just being with them. I mean, most people have not had someone, look or see them in their genitals in beauty, in radiance, in
Yes.
glory,
Never.
that don't want anything from it, that
Right.
don't, that don't want anything. And I think that is, sometimes people get a bit nervous working with someone in the sexual realm because, well, what if, what if something happens, or what if, all of their stuff comes up? What if it doesn't look right? What if it's not right? What if it's, when we come down to basics and we hold somebody from there, everything changes. Their body changes, their nervous system changes, everything can relax into, oh wow, I'm accepted and I'm normal and I'm extraordinary and I'm, all of these parts can be just loved, I suppose. And coming from that verb again, that and space, the space that opens up in people is extraordinary. And the space that then, people come and work with me and then they go, I'm never going to let anyone else touch me who's not like that. That is now my new baseline.
Standard.
If
Oh
somebody
yeah.
doesn't have that reverence, if I don't have my own reverence for myself,
Yes.
I'm not touching me. If I don't, and so it changes the baseline for our part, what we will accept from touch, from partners, from world, because that we now have this new baseline of, well, this is how much reverence and this is how much sacred and this is how beautiful and honored I am for me. So
Mm.
somebody coming towards me has to be at least that.
Mhm.
And so it changes things on a multi-dimensional level of how, even what we will accept as basic human touch.
Mm. So true. I remember when I think you used the words elegant and poised, beautiful. And it healed something inside me. And then you asked Scott to behold my yoni, and what does he see? And he looked right into my eyes. And you're like, no, look at her yoni. And he'd never done that. I don't think to anyone. And so it was new for both of us. And I'm like, I like this. And it was like a part of me was honored that was never honored by him. I know he loves me. I know we've had beautiful lovemaking, but this was different, deeper, and a whole other dimension of respect and honor. And he still will like cup my mound after. Like he doesn't just pull out anymore. Like he's like, oh no, she's conscious. She's aware. We talk it like she's a whole other she. There's Allana and there's my yoni. So it's been profound to rewire both of our nervous systems in a new way. I noticed even right after the session, and it hasn't gone away. I didn't think I was in a perma-Kegel all the time, but I'm noticing I am. And like, gotta suck in your belly and years of ballet training and suck up the vagina and the whole thing. And don't let it fall out. We've got to do the Kegel exercises. We're getting older. We've had a baby. Like I've got all the stories here, but there was a heldness, fear and self-judgment and hypervigilance with others. And it's just been one session, and I look forward to another when we come to Australia and providing PSI for you as well. There's just a greater appreciation for my curves, for my femininity, for relaxing that perma-Kegel, for being more receptive and open and feeling beautiful for no reason. That it's deepened after just that experience with you. So your magic, the work you do is magic. I'm so grateful for the gift that you are to me and to my relationship and to the community and to this world. And so I want to encourage people. You're gonna have to fly to Australia if you don't live there, or what have you. But learn more about what she does, because it's a gift that you might not even, you might sense it more than figure it out. It's gonna
Yeah.
feel right more than make sense. What would you like to tell people about your business and how you love to work with people?
Well, exactly what you were saying. It's something that, and I think as we, particularly as women, but women and couples, to be able to work with someone and the nuances that you were talking about and the subtleties and I mean, we always know that where our attention goes and the details, but when we can catch ourselves like, so where is the point that I leave my body? Where is and we don't often catch those, and we don't often think that they're worth catching. But the more we're in our body, the more we feel, the more sensation, and the more that ripples out into the world. So again, I think we think our sexuality is this little box over here,
Mm.
and maybe we'll think we'll deal with it later, when the children are older, when I have this right, when work's right, when something else is right. Where often it is, if we can bring that sexuality and open it up and it's our birthright, then everything else blossoms and everything else changes. And because it affects our nervous system
Yes.
because it is that birthright, and it's that first spark that gets us here. So if that spark is not, if you're trying to come from a pilot light that's not lit,
Yeah.
a fire that's not lit, then it's really difficult to move that into a relationship, really difficult to move that into ourselves.
Mm.
So the blossoming comes. So you don't need to wait for things to be perfect. You can take the step into your sexuality, and it is much more of a sense feeling. And I think particularly for women, we think that it's okay to spend money on our hair or de-hairing, depending on who you are,
Yeah.
or getting a tan and getting things. But if we allow ourselves to spend our money on ourselves and on our sexuality,
Mm.
then life changes. And those things, we can still get our hair done, and then I still love all those things. But there's a different spark within us that creates life, that keeps creating. So even if you're, someone who's got little children or someone going into menopause, there is still different ways of creating far beyond our hormones, far beyond what society tells us we're allowed. I mean, most women I know that, but most women I know who have done work and have kind of embraced their sexuality, they kind of they love sex, they love intimacy, they love pleasure, and often people think I'm doing really sexy work, but often I'm in the trenches of what is moving, what is in the way of that. Because
Right.
that's often where we are. What is in the way of me having that? What is in the way of me living orgasmic? Because orgasmicness, I think, nowadays frequency is spoken everywhere, and orgasmicness is a frequency. So orgasmicness comes when you're washing the dishes, when you're doing the mundane things, as well as having erotic sexual time with yourself or with a partner. Or, yeah.
Yes. Making love with life. Yes.
Making love with love.
I love this. I love this. One more thing to follow up, and then I'm going to ask you another question. Now that we've had that session and you showed me when I would like arch, I would leave. I didn't know that. And then to not arch and to stay, and the amount of energy that's here, holy, incredible. And
Yeah.
Scott's now aware of when I leave. And so
Yeah.
before, he was aware that I wasn't as present. He couldn't feel me. He could feel he was going through the motions, but he didn't know what to do about it, didn't know how to speak up about it. And so now we have a new awareness and a new partnership in there. Hey babe, I'm not here. He goes, what can I do? How can I be? What do you need? Like he's right there now. And so it's supported him to just that's not that I'm wrong that it happened. We don't judge me. We just create the safety for me to come back in my body when I'm ready. And now we can
I mean, that
continue on.
you're certainly not alone in that arch. And
Yeah.
because most of us, learn from either Hollywood or porn, and
Mm.
actually neither of them is real great. But aesthetically, so if you come from a movie maker or an entertainment point of view, someone moving their head forward is not aesthetically pleasing. So someone with an arched back is aesthetically pleasing.
Mm.
So we learn the programming of, pleasure is supposed, when pleasure is this, I'm supposed to do this. My body's supposed to undulate upwards. I'm supposed to arch.
Yeah.
But for the energetics of what we want, and
Right.
for the flow of what we want, and to
Right.
stay connected with our body, which is where the pleasure is in here.
Yes. Yes.
Then if we bring our heads up and we stay, then that creates the roundness for the energy to flow around and not leave and go out.
Right.
So they're two different points of view.
Totally. Well, 7 years or even maybe 10 years of S Factor pole dancing was all about the arch your back,
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
Yeah. So to rewire and relearn has
Which
been
has its place. We don't
sure.
want to, we don't want to take that. We don't want to take that away. Aesthetically, it does look beautiful. But when we're in the throes of, love making and orgasmicness, less on the aesthetics and more about how we can bring more of that embodied.
Yeah, absolutely. A question as we come back into this community. So you've gifted me and Scott, you've gifted the whole community with your wisdom, your joy, your love, your light. What would you say to anybody watching this about this community, coaching with me, what's possible? What would you say to them?
I would say that Allana has a really beautiful way of poking into the blind spots. And so if you've got some blind spots, or you just think that you may have an area that can't quite access yourself, then Allana really is able to help with that. And then the community supports that in anchoring it in and making it real in the world. It's multifaceted. So you do the kind of the poking and the insights, your laser vision is amazing. And then the community supports that to hold and keep it real.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've created this, and yes, this is my business, but it's like, it's a family. It's an energetic soup or stew, as you said, of celebration and rawness. Everything's welcome. Yeah. And I love how we go farther, faster together as a community. And then, yeah, when we get to meet in person, it's even better. And I get to see you again in a few months when we come over to Australia. Yeah, I love this. And so lastly, my love, share with them, you have an ebook that people can learn more about what you do. What is that about?
So I've created an ebook. It's a fairly simple. I'm a very practical person. Like I am very cosmic but it needs to be practical. We live here, so it's 5 steps, 5 ways of being able to be more embodied and have greater sacred sexuality with you and with your partner.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we have a link to that in the show notes. And for those of you watching, I hope you can feel the respect we have for one another, the safety we have with one another, the energy of what this beautiful community is like to show up every single week, be real, do the work, and celebrate along the way and have each other's back. So if this is something that you're like, all right, I'd like to take the next step and check this out, you can go to my website, allanapratt.com, and it's called an Intimacy Breakthrough Experience. And that way you can connect directly with me for a powerful hour as we explore blind spots. We explore patterns that you haven't been able to resolve, and you explore what's possible of joining me in this beautiful community in a year of intimacy, adventure, and exploration. So in conclusion, last words are yours, darling, from your heart to everyone. How would you like to complete this delicious conversation?
Enjoy bringing your orgasmicness to every day. When you're washing the dishes next time, or hanging the washing out, see if you can feel where your orgasmicness is and expand it.
I love this. Okay, fantastic. Well, I've got 2. I'll see you in another couple hours. We've got our inner circle call here coming up in a bit. Honey, thank you so much for the gift that you are to me, to this community,
Thank
to
you.
this world. And thank you all for watching this celebration of a journey. We never get there. And the work together is so rich to be brave and explore what's truly possible with our pleasure and oneness with the divine embodied in our delicious bodies. So thank you for being with us. Stay with me, sweetheart. I'll give my official goodbyes. And until next time on Intimate Conversations, thank you for the honor of letting me love the shit out of you.
Thank you.
See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. This is Rocco. I just finished a plunge. My girlfriend's in the plunge right now. I hope you enjoyed the incredible podcast with Myola. There's just gifts that come every direction with everyone you're ever interacting with. Clients, friends, strangers. There's so much to learn from so many people. And I'm so grateful to be surrounded by the most incredible clients who gift me with their wisdom, their insights, who inspire me with how they show up in the world, who do the work, and who really get that the power of our community, we are better together. So if you, for any reason, are in Australia and you're looking for just an exquisite sexual somatic practitioner, Myola was able to see my blind spots, was able to see where I was disassociating. I had no clue. Had I not followed my intuition and asked her to support me after the end of the Costa Rica retreat as a way to replenish myself after giving so much, I never would have had that gift. So trust your intuition, ask for what you need, be willing to not know what the outcome is going to be. Stay in that present moment and keep your heart open, one foot in front of the other, on this incredible journey of our intimate relationship with ourselves. That quote from Anais Nin, the one where the risk to open, I'm going to butcher it, I can't remember it, but basically, let's go for it and open. It's painful to close, it's painful to open. Let's go for the pain that brings us into our rapture, through it to our empowerment, through it to our freedom, through it to our radiance. There's no path of no pain, but there is a path towards your greatest self. So if I can support you with that, it would be my pleasure and my honor. Please connect with Myola if you're in Australia. Please reach out to me if me and this community could be a contribution to you on your journey of intimacy to yourself, to your body, to the divine, and to your beloved. Okay, in I go now to, we're gonna go party. It's actually my girlfriend's birthday today. So we're gonna go out and watch my boyfriend's band and celebrate our beautiful friendship that we've had for the last almost 30 years. Yeah, we're getting up there. All right, I love you. Thanks for being with us on Intimate Conversations.